Hey, it's me, Unapologetically T, and I am back with another poem. This one is called Guilt and Shame. Guilt and shame. How many of us deal with that? Yeah, if you're not careful, guilt and shame will dig a hole for you to fall in. So I'm gonna get straight into this. Guilt and shame. I apologize, but I have found a use for most emotions. But guilt and shame, I still struggle to have compassion for. I'm sure some humans need you. But for me, you leave me physically ill and debilitated. You hit me in my gut and activate my worry. But what purpose do you serve if I must make mistakes to learn my lessons? I find you counterproductive to resolving much of anything. You perpetuate a vicious cycle of fucked up emotions that most times make me dig my own grave. Before I know it, what started out as a small hole that I could mend and fill now is a tunnel deep with pain. Guilt and shame tend to make me hide away, never wanting to face the small mistakes that tend to fix themselves with mere acknowledgement. Guilt and shame, please help me understand. What do you want from me? Do you even know? Because it appears all you want is to make me feel bad. What about helping me find a solution or making note to not do it again? Because I don't need guilt or shame. Because I am accountable. I am remorseful. And I am worthy of moving on from the stain on my white cloth. I beg of you to tell me what it is you need to properly coexist. Or I assertively release and banish you from my spirit and soul. Because I forgive myself. That's the end of the poem, but I wrote a message because, I'm just convinced, and I'm going to just read it. I'm convinced that guilt and shame is man-made emotions crafted through oppression, because you can reflect and make amends without beating yourself up. Guilt and shame seems like a poison we drink to tell ourselves it helps us to be better people. But for me, it doesn't. It causes more problems than I began with. Yeah, guilt and shame is ick for me. And I've had some conversations and some healing around guilt and shame, and I do think that, guilt and shame is a natural human emotion. However, I think the way that we look at guilt and shame is definitely man-made. I think, it comes from a sick and twisted way to get someone to resolve issues that typically never gets resolved, because when you're dealing with, definitely, I don't know other countries or cultures, guilt and shame, but with America, I feel like guilt and shame is designed to keep you in this cycle, when we are literally, as soon as we're born, we're here to make mistakes. There are our lessons. And I don't even like calling them mistakes anymore. I call them choices or decisions. And if it is a choice or a decision you make and you don't like it, typically they call that a mistake. But that literally teaches you something. So is it a mistake or was it a lesson? I think maybe it becomes a problem when you're constantly repeating them. And I think that guilt and shame kind of feeds that repetition of keep repeating them, because you're always going to make the mistakes and feel like you're not good enough, like you beat yourself up for it. I found a lot of guilt and shame being taught behavior from religion, parenting, just deeply rooted in society anyway, where I think really if we were to look at that in a different way, we don't need guilt and shame to make us feel bad. We need guilt or shame to trigger reflection. We need guilt and shame to trigger, I should take accountability for my actions. I don't care why I did it. It's okay to understand why I did it, but if my actions cause harm to me or someone else, then I need to take accountability for it. So you got reflection, you got accountability, and then amends. Not everything that you do, you can make amends with. Some things is just, the amends is not fucking repeating what you did. Because sometimes you can do something to someone else and they do not want your amends. And you have to make peace with that. It's called forgiving yourself instead of seeking forgiveness from someone else. So you will make mistakes in life and you will sometimes harm others or yourself. The whole point of it is not having debilitating guilt and shame so that you can't move on from it. Because if you can't move on from it, you're most likely going to keep repeating the same behavior over and over again. So guilt and shame is not one of the ones I like. I don't like calling it guilt and shame. I call it reflection. I call it accountability, which a lot of people don't want to take accountability. But I call it accountability, and I call it amends. So first, I need to reflect on the situation and see it from my viewpoint and maybe the other person's viewpoint, and see what I can learn to get out of that. Then I need, reflection equals understanding, just seeing what happened, growth, all that stuff. So accountability is, okay, what part did I play in it? What part did I play in it? Owning up to the part I played in it. Not trying to make excuses for the part I played in it. Because we don't want that to happen again. And then there's some situations that weren't excuses, but at the same token, what happened. You can't excuse it away. Then there is amends. Can I actually have some conflict resolution to this situation? Is there any way I can resolve or fix what has happened? If I can't, I have to fucking move on. I cannot just be held stagnant and stuck in a rut in this situation. I have to move on. If I lose out on a friendship, an opportunity, or whatever that situation is, it literally wasn't meant for me. I have to take the whole lesson that I've learned and try not to repeat that again. So yeah, with guilt and shame, I really don't like it. And I'll probably post this one to YouTube. I probably just post a poem on here on IG and then post the whole thing on YouTube. But yeah, the guilt and shame thing, it gotta go. I'm not kneeling down on rice because I dropped the dish. I'm not doing it. We're gonna clean this up. That's the solution. We're gonna make sure I be mindful next time so I don't drop the dish. But we're not going to cry over spilled milk. We got to stop doing that. All right.